Humans have spent thousands of years trying to make life easier. We built wheels instead of carrying things, roads instead of trails, machines instead of manual labor, electric lights instead of candles, the internet instead of libraries, artificial intelligence instead of staring at a blank page. For most of human history, every generation inherited a world that demanded a little less physical effort than the one before it. And that is an extraordinary achievement. This is Cultivating Intelligence. Today, we're exploring a question that sounds almost backwards. Can life become so easy that we accidentally stop developing the variabilities that made us human? Because convenience solves many problems, but it also changes us. There is a common assumption that if something becomes easier, it automatically becomes better. Sometimes that is true. Few people wish for harder surgeries, longer emergency response times, or more dangerous workplaces. Technology has dramatically improved human life, but easier and better aren't actually synonyms. They're different measurements. Easy describes effort. Better describes outcome. And those two don't always move together. Think about teaching a child to ride a bicycle. Every instinct tells you to keep holding the seat, to prevent the waddling, prevent the falling, prevent the frustration. But eventually, you have to let go. Not because falling is the goal, but because balance cannot be learned without instability. The struggle isn't a flaw in the learning process. The struggle is the learning process. Nature rarely eliminates challenge. Watch a young osprey or kingfisher learning to hunt. The first dives often miss completely, again and again. Weeks pass before precision replaces instinct. If every fish floated conveniently to the surface, the osprey would survive that afternoon, but it would never become a hunter. Nature doesn't optimize for comfort. It optimizes for capability. Have you ever experienced the thrill of getting up before dawn to hike up a trail just to photograph the sunrise? I've had this experience at the Grand Canyon, long before the vacation even began. I already knew the picture I hoped to capture. You wake in darkness, the trail is steep, you haven't had any coffee yet, your legs burn, you're carrying equipment, the elk are out in the form of large moving shadows. Then comes the waiting, watching the light slowly change across the canyon walls until for just a few minutes, everything aligns exactly as you imagined. I shot this on slide film about 15 years ago. Back then, there was another wait, dropping off the film, wondering if you had gotten the exposure right, waiting days to see the developed slides. When the slides finally arrived, the excitement wasn't just about the image. It was about everything the image represented: anticipation, preparation and patience, effort and memory. The photograph wasn't valuable simply because it existed. It carried the story of how it came to exist. Interestingly, we're beginning to rediscover this idea in education. For years, many schools rushed to replace books with tablets and laptops, believing digital learning would naturally produce better outcomes. But some countries are now reversing course. Sweden, for example, has invested in bringing printed textbooks back into the classrooms and placing renewed emphasis on handwriting after concerns that heavy screen use was affecting reading comprehension, attention, and foundational learning. Researchers continue to find that writing by hand activates learning differently than typing. The slower pace forces the brain to summarize, organize, and interpret information rather than simply record it. Sometimes the extra effort isn't wasted effort, it's where learning happens. You can hear the same principle in music. A concert violinist isn't simply memorizing notes. Years of imperfect practice teach tiny adjustments in pressure, timing, rhythm, reading, posture, and listening. By the time audiences hear a flawless performance, they're actually hearing thousands of mistakes that were slowly transformed into mastery. Without those mistakes, the performance wouldn't exist. The same thing happens inside organizations. Healthy teams don't become stronger because every meeting is efficient. They become stronger because people work through disagreement. They learn each other's communication styles, solve difficult problems together, recover after setbacks, build trust one conversation at a time. Technology can remove administrative work. That's wonderful. But it can't eliminate the conversations that build confidence between people. If every difficult interaction is avoided, relationships become more fragile, not stronger. Convenience changes personal relationships too. Food arrives without cooking together. Messages replace conversations. Streaming replaces shared anticipation. GPS tells us where to go without asking a stranger for directions. None of these things are inherently bad. Many are wonderful, but they quietly remove opportunities for participation. The small moments where relationships are built, not because they're efficient, because they're shared. Artificial intelligence now extends this conversation into entirely new territory. AI can draft documents, generate software, compose music, design logos, create photographs that never existed, summarize research, translate languages, brainstorm ideas. These are remarkable capabilities, and they're only becoming more capable. AI isn't going away. If anything, it will become one of the defining tools of modern civilization. So the question probably isn't whether humans should use AI. We will use it. The question is different. What parts of being human should we never outsource? Because if AI removes every struggle, it may also remove many opportunities for growth. Not because AI is harmful, but because development still requires participation. A person who asks AI to write every sentence may produce excellent documents, but they may become a weaker writer. Someone who relies on AI for every decision may become less confident, making decisions independently. Someone who allows AI to solve every problem may slowly stop exercising curiosity itself. Tools always shape the people who use them. The printing press changed memory. Calculators changed arithmetic. GPS changed navigation. AI will change thinking. The question is whether we will allow AI to replace thinking or strengthen it. Consider a river. Water always seeks the easiest path downhill. But over thousands of years, that movement carved the Grand Canyon itself. Not because the path was easy, but because persistence meeting resistance reshaped the landscape. Perhaps human character develops the same way, not through avoiding every obstacle, but through engaging with the right ones. Maybe that is the real lesson. Convenience isn't the enemy. In many cases, it's a gift. The danger isn't in making life easier. The danger is believing that every difficulty should disappear. Some struggles damage us. Those are worth removing. Others develop us. Those are worth protecting. As AI becomes part of nearly everything we do, that distinction may become one of the most important decisions we'll make. Not every task deserves maximum optimization, because optimization has limits. Every system can be optimized for something: for speed, for efficiency, for consistency, for cost, and for convenience. But no system can be optimized for everything at the same time. Every optimization is also a decision about what matters less. When we optimize transportation, we often spend less time walking. When we optimize communication, we sometimes spend less time listening. When we optimize productivity, we can unintentionally leave less room for reflection. When we optimize for immediate answers, we may ask fewer thoughtful questions. Optimization always involves trade-offs. Nature understands this. A cheetah is optimized for extraordinary speed, but only for short bursts. A sea turtle is optimized for endurance across entire oceans. Neither is better. Each evolved for different purposes. Human life works the same way. If we optimize every experience for maximum efficiency, we may accidentally reduce the very things that require time to develop: trust, judgment, patience, creativity, and empathy. None of those emerge instantly. They accumulate slowly through experience. Artificial intelligence will continue to optimize enormous portions of our lives, and that's something to celebrate. It can remove tedious work, accelerate discovery, and make knowledge more accessible than at any other point in history. But perhaps our responsibility isn't simply to ask, can AI do this faster? It's also to ask, what happens to us if it does? Because technology doesn't just change how work gets done. It changes the people doing the work. Human beings were never meant to optimize every moment. We were meant to live them. Some experiences are valuable precisely because they resist optimization. Falling in love, raising children, learning an instrument, recovering from failure, watching a sunset instead of a time lapse of one, sitting beside a hospital bed, writing a letter by hand. None of these are efficient. Yet, they are among the experiences people most often describe as giving their lives meaning. Perhaps meaning doesn't live on the fastest path. Perhaps it lives in the parts of life that refuse to be rushed. Next time, we're talking human energy, how humanity has never possessed more systems designed to save time, yet many people have never felt they have less of it. This is Cultivating Intelligence.
This podcast explores ideas at the intersection of art, nature, and AI. The perspectives shared are intended to inspire curiosity and conversation, not to serve as professional advice. As with any evolving field, listeners are encouraged to think critically and seek additional perspectives.